Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside talk on IO Radio.
Guys, here for Arsenal, it has been a very poor season by their standards. After last season winning the FA Cup, this season they were really aiming for top four. They were in top four for about October, slipped down to that relegation zone, but now have kind of got back here. And they can still get into Europe, into the Europe conferencing if they win here. But for Brighton, a good season by their standards, still in the Premier League, and can climb the table up to 13th for the win here.
Yeah, so Brighton will want to finish as high as they can. But for Arsenal, obviously, as you said, it's been such a poor season by their standards, hasn't it? It's been just declined every season really now from what they were like before, and this has been such a poor season. The fact they can still get in a European competition is quite mad, actually. But I don't really think they'll be wanting to play in the conference league next year. But I guess it's still something to play for on the final day for Brighton. Yeah, they've had a good season again to stay in the league. I think that's their aims going into each Premier League season now, and they've done well to stay up. I don't think it'll be an easy game for Arsenal. Obviously, Brighton's defence is really good, so it's not going to be an easy game. I think it'll be a tight one, and I'm going to go for a draw. I think it'll be 1-1.
Yeah, it's definitely a good game for the end of the season. Brighton have obviously looked good as of recent. Obviously had a draw and then beat Man City in their last game out. So, Brighton have played brilliant football season, to be honest. I just think that the results haven't really gone their way and haven't been able to get over the line towards the end. But they've done a great team, and I think they'll be happy with where they finished this season. Arsenal, on the other hand, it's obviously been a disaster. I think it's a wake up call to the board that they need to start thinking seriously about buying players, and they need to get rid of a lot of players in that squad. Obviously, Arsenal, this game's huge for them, trying to get some European football. And above that, if the result doesn't go right for Tottenham, they're going to finish above their rivals, which is obviously huge for them. So I think Arsenal are going to put it all on the line here. They've been in great form as of recent, and I think for that reason that they'll just be able to get the job done. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 start.
Guys, here's such a big game here for Chelsea. But firstly, for Aston Villa, what a season it has been for them. A lot of people were saying they're going to get relegated after just surviving by 1 point last season, but they have really climbed up 17 points better off and 6 places better off. But for Chelsea here, such a big game. They have to win this to guarantee a European football next season. They can get away with a draw, but it will come down to what happens in the other games.
Yeah, and you don't want to rely on other games on the final day, do you? So, it's a huge game for Chelsea. As you said, Aston Villa had a fantastic season. I think I predicted them to get relegated this year. So, hats off to them for having a great season. But yeah, obviously we all know the importance of this game for Chelsea. A win or nothing really. So it's going to be a lot of nerves for their fans, I reckon. I think they'll come to the game with confidence. I think obviously after the FA Cup loss, it was, they were down, I guess, but coming back against Leicester and winning that game, I think that'll give them confidence going into this one. And I think it helps playing against a team that haven't really got anything to play for. So I think, Chelsea will come out and do the job that they need to do. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 to Chelsea.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think, Villa have had a fantastic season, beat some good teams. I mean, obviously just beat Tottenham in their last game out. The additions that they've made to the squad have been tremendous for them. I think, they've really turned themselves around. Chelsea, on the other hand, also turned themselves around halfway through the season. Obviously, they had problems with Frank Lampard. It ended up getting rid of him and getting Tuchel in, and the difference he's made for them has been unreal. Like Dan said, the FA Cup, I think, really got the players down, but I think it also helped in the other way coming into that Leicester game. You saw the fire in the Chelsea team. They were straight out the block and brought it to Leicester. So I think Chelsea are definitely going to be here for the kill against Villa. Whereas Villa, their season's done for them already now. I don't think N'Golo Kante will play. I think Chelsea will look to definitely keep him safe for that Champions League final, keep him wrapped up. So I think Chelsea will get the win here, secure themselves top four. I'm going to go for a 2-0 to Chelsea.
Yep, it is for them. Obviously for Fulham, I think it's been really disappointing. I think this was the game everyone was looking at 3 or 4 weeks ago, saying that this was going to be a massive game on the last day, but obviously Fulham just dropped off, didn't they? Which was really disappointing because, as you said, there was lots of chances for them to survive this year. I think overall their squad is just didn't have enough. I think their manager Scott Parker, I think he's doing a good job there, and I think he'll be a good future manager. But I just don't think their squad has enough. Newcastle, they stayed up, but I don't think their fans will be happy with the season that they've had. It's been disappointing by their standards, I'd say. I think just that because Fulham really dropped off, didn't they? I think that saved Newcastle. They managed to get some decent results, in the final third of the season to just stay up. But I don't think their fans are very happy. So I think this game, I think it'll be quite a tight game. Obviously doesn't mean much. I think I'm going to go for a draw. I think I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Yeah, obviously it's a shame for Fulham. I think the terrible start they had to the season didn't help, obviously, but they did start to come into form. They had good results against teams like Tottenham and Liverpool come Christmas time. But I mean, you could probably name on both hands games that they threw away or games that they could have won, towards the end of the season, or at least got a point which just stopped them, and they went on this run of just drawing games consistently, which just got them into it. I think Fulham did show good fight, but unfortunately they just couldn't get what they needed towards the end. Newcastle, on the other hand, I think the fans will be disappointed. I think they've got some potential in that team and in some of the players, but I just don't think maybe the managers wrote for them. I think maybe him and the club are not quite getting along at the moment. I know he has managed to sort of pull it back towards the end, but I think there will need to be some changes at Newcastle. I feel like they should have had a slightly better season than they did. But I think Fulham, now they're relegated and they don't need the win, I think it's going to be pretty ironic, and I think they will get the win come the last game of the season. I'm going to go for a 1-0 to Fulham.
It is, yeah. I think it's been very poor, hasn't it? And I think it was kind of what we all predicted as well. Looking at their squad coming into this season, I think we all thought it wasn't really good enough. I thought Bilic would do a pretty good job there, and then when they got Allardyce, you all know what he can do in the Premier League. So I thought that was a good appointment, but it's just not been enough, and it'll be interesting who they replace him with. But obviously for Leeds, what a fantastic season. I think we all predicted that they'd stay up, but they've done better than what we thought. I think, as you said, they've entertained us this year. The football they've played has been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I think this game, there's only really one favourite going into it, and that's Leeds. I think they can outdo West Brom pretty easily, and with the form that they're in at the moment, I can only see one winner really in this, and I think it will be a 3-0 win to Leeds.
Yeah, I think for West Brom, they're one of the teams that everyone thought was definitely going to struggle this year. Them and Sheffield United, but West Brom, it feels like they went into the Premier League with a Championship team. They didn't make enough meaningful replacements in that team, and then obviously I think they got Big Sam injured a little bit too late. I think if he had a couple more games, they probably could have stayed, but I think they had the same problem with Fulham. They had games in their hand, and unfortunately, slipped away. They did get some decent points here and there. Obviously, the win against Chelsea, and I think they got a draw against Manchester United under Big Sam, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. But I think it'll be a really good game. Obviously, Leeds have got some rare consistency in their form. Normally it's win one, lose one, but 3 wins on the bounce. They're looking very good. Have had an amazing season. I think all the players are going to be proud of the way that they've played and the way Bielsa's done it. So I think Leeds will have a strong finish to the season and get their fans excited for next year. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 to Leeds.
What a big game for Leicester. It's they were looking like they were on for top 4. Not that long ago, really. The points, the gap was quite big not that long ago. So. We saw it last year where they kind of dropped off, and they've done it again. There's still a chance, obviously, to get inside that top 4. So they really need to win. I know they'll be relying on results elsewhere as they're in 5th place. So they really need to win this game. I think winning the FA Cup, that's given them confidence. I think that Chelsea game was a bit disappointing for them, obviously, in the Premier League. So I think it's going to be a tight one. Obviously, Tottenham, they can still get in Europe if they get the right result. But I think it's just been such a disjointed season, really, for Tottenham. Obviously, sacking Mourinho just before that cup final. Not sure it was the right decision to do that before then. But it's been quite a disappointing season for them. I think going into the game, I'm going to side with Leicester on this one. I know they'll rely on results elsewhere, but I'm going to go for a 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an important game for both teams. Leicester, massive amount of pressure on them. to secure top four, especially after what happened last season with them in top four. Obviously, got the FA Cup win. Whether their heads have dropped a little bit, it seems that they've won it now and they feel more relaxed. But still massive amount of pressure on them, especially to top of a brilliant season that they've had. Tottenham, on the other hand, lots of pressure on them. They've had a terrible season. This is probably Kane's last game. They're going to want to make sure they get European football, and they can't let Arsenal overtake them. I mean, that's a huge thing for them. They were top of the league at one point when Arsenal were 15th, so they need to make sure they can't let that slip up happen. I'm sure Tottenham will never want that. They won't hear the end of it. So I think it's such an important game for both teams. Probably more important slightly for Leicester, obviously with the Champions League in question. But I think it's going to be a draw. I don't think Tottenham have got enough at the moment to get the win, but I think they'll be able to hold Leicester back, and I'm going to go for a 1-1.
But guys, here for Liverpool, they need a win to secure top four football. They're only in it by 4 goal difference, just ahead of Leicester. But for Crystal Palace here, they'd be looking to give Roy a better send off. What happened at Selhurst Park, losing 3-1 to Arsenal, but the job he has done there, the consistency is fantastic. What he has done,
it is, yeah. He's done such a consistent job. But I think looking at the 3 teams that are wanting top 4 this year, they've probably got the easiest game out of them 3, I'd say, on paper. I think it's been a poor season by Liverpool standards. After the terrific season they had last year, it's been very poor this year, and I think there'll be some nerves, I guess, from the fans going into this game because they've come up against teams like this at home this season and not really got the result they needed. So I think there'll be a bit of nerves there, but I still think they have enough to get the job done. For Crystal Palace, they'll want to send off Roy the best they can for the job that he's done there. I think we all see Crystal Palace as that mid-table Premier League side, and they do that consistently. But still, I think Liverpool will go to Anfield, get the job done. I just think they'll have too much for Palace, and I'm going to go for a 2-0.
Yeah, obviously Roy's last game, obviously been managed for so long. He's an absolute legend in the game. So I'm sure the Palace players and fans want to give him the best send off possible. Unfortunately, they're coming up against the Liverpool side who want top 4 more than anything. Like Dan said, it's been a disappointing season for Liverpool. I think they've realised that they need to build on this squad they have. They have a fantastic squad, but it's been the same squad for a couple of years now, and they really need to build on it. Obviously, injuries have plagued them. They had a point where they didn't even have a centre back really, Liverpool. So, they went through a terrible run of form, but I think they've had some good luck with them, and they've had some great results as a recent Liverpool. So I think I think Leicester and Chelsea are going to be worried coming into this because, like I said again, Liverpool have definitely got the easiest game at the 3, and I think Liverpool looking probably the deadliest at the moment. Up front in front of goals. So I think Liverpool will definitely get the win, and they'll put the pressure on Leicester and Chelsea. And I'm going to go for a 4-0 to Liverpool.
Guys, for Man City, they've been fantastic all season. Really came back and done a very good recovery after losing the Premier League crown last time out. 3 Premier Leagues in 4 years under Pep Guardiola, 5 in the last 9 they have won here. So they've done very well. But for Everton here, been a better season than was last. Carlo Ancelotti's first proper season at charge Everton. They've done much better under him, but consistency at home has really killed them this season. They were in the top 4 at one point and leading the Premier League, and they're going to win it at one point, but they have slipped down to 8th here.
They have, yeah. That's been quite a disappointing drop. I think it's kind of been a on and off season for them. And there was a lot of potential for them at the start of the year, wasn't there? But I don't know. I think they'll be okay with the season if they manage to get in Europe after this game. But obviously, coupling up against the champions, I know Man City aren't going to really care what the result is in this game because they've already won the league. But going to Man City and getting a result is not an easy thing to do. They've had such a good season. The quality they've shown this year has been absolutely fantastic. The way they got the title after they were quite far down the league at the start, weren't they? They had a very poor start. So for Everton, it's definitely an important game for them if they want to get into Europe. But I just think it's going to be too much for them going to Man City. I think it'll be a close game, but I think it'll be 1-0 to City in this one.
Yeah, Evan, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed just about how well they started, all the promise that team has. But I think, it's a work in progress for Everton. I think over the next few years, they'll only improve. I think they've got, a fantastic squad that just needs to be built on a little bit more. And they've obviously got a brilliant manager. So, it will continue. I think they will cause problems with Man City. But Man City, on the other hand, sort of don't really care at the moment. I think you can tell in the way they play, they don't really care. They're just worrying about the Champions League at the moment. But you can't be losing games like that coming into a Champions League final. So it won't be great for them. So I think Man City obviously come back from quite low down, capitalise on all the other teams struggling. Obviously, fantastic winners. 3 and 4. It's looking good for them. So I think they'll get the win over Everton just to help the celebrations. And I think it'll be a 2-1 to see.
Guys, here for Sheffield United, it has been an absolutely poorly season by their standards. They finished 9th last year. They're now rock bottom of the Premier League, 34 points worse off. Chris Wilder's now gone. They're now looking to try and bounce back in the Championship, first time of asking. But for Burnley here, another consistent season under Sean Dyche, getting them to safety this time. They've got new ownership in, possibly some more money about. He could really build a very good squad for next season.
Yeah, we'll definitely be interesting to see. Obviously, Sheffield United have had a terrible season, haven't they? I don't think we were expecting them to have this awful season after the season they had last year. They looked really good last year, but it's just completely turned around this year, hasn't it? And it'll be interesting to see if they bounce back next year in the Championship. I'm sure they'll be one of the favourites to come back up, but it'll be definitely interesting to see. For Burnley, they've done well to stay up. I think some of the results they've had this season have been a little bit disappointing, but I'm sure they'll be pleased to still be in the Premier League this year and see if they can build on next year. We all know that Burnley are a good side in this division, so let's hope they can deliver more next year to get a better result. I think this game obviously doesn't mean anything at all. But I think I can only really see a draw in this one for me. I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Yeah, I think, Sheffield United have probably had the season that we thought they were going to have last year with their first year in the Premier League. So, I think it's just been poor by them. Haven't really been able to get going. I think they've been one of the teams that have been really affected by not having fans this year. It's been a shame for them, but end of the story is they just haven't been well enough. The quality hasn't been good enough. Burnley, on the other hand, had a terrible start of the season. I can't remember how many games it took for them to get a win. Once again, another team that probably has struggled without fans. Turf Moor is normally a fortress. Obviously, a lot of good hopes with new management coming in. A lot of promise to the team if they can manage to keep Sean Dyche. I think this team will only get better. So I'm going to go for a Burnley win in this game just to see at the end of their season. I'm going to go for a 1-0 to Burnley.
Guys, here for West Ham, a fantastic season for them. I don't think any of us would have predicted them being in the race for European football or even top 4 football at one point. But a win here would actually secure them into the Europa League for next season. But for Southampton here, it's been another sort of a good season by their standards. At one point they were first, but they had that 9-0 loss and they've really sort of slipped down the table since having that 9 loss to Manchester United. But overall, a good season by their standards.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think the drop they had is a little bit disappointing, but I think, most people expected, when they were top of the league, we were expecting them to drop off. And that's what happened. But I think they'll be okay with mid-table this season. Obviously, West Ham, they've had an absolutely fantastic season, surprised everyone, really. It looked like at one point they were gonna get top 4. They just dropped out. But I think overall they'll be absolutely delighted if they get Europa League football this season. And I think this game, has them favourites, and I think it's a really good game for West Ham to cement that place in Europa League. So, yeah, I think West Ham will definitely, have enough to get past Southampton. And I think it'll be a 2-0 to West Ham.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting game. Southampton, it's kind of weird to say this season whether it's been good or bad because they had such a great start. I mean, they had a draw over Chelsea, obviously a win over Liverpool, a win over Everton, when they were flying. So it's very interesting. I think it's just been the second half of the season has been absolutely disastrous for Southampton. Really, they should be in the bottom 3 with the way that their form went. I think they were just lucky with how well they done at the start. Obviously, on the other hand, West Ham, a fantastic season for them. I know they've dropped off a little bit towards the end, but the way that they've played and the way they've turned the season around, they were almost destined to go down last season at one point. So they bring it all back, and the way that they've played this season, and getting so many good results, I think West Ham can be more than proud of themselves, and I think they'll send off the season in a good way. And I think West Ham are going to win. I'm going to go for a 3-1 to West Ham.
Yeah, I think United will be very happy with the season they've had. I think bettered expectations really this season, and I'd say they're favourites going into the Europa League final. So, as you said, silverware still on offer. So yeah, really good season for them. They've looked really good at times. For Wolves, kind of the opposite story. It's been very disappointing after they wanted to build on the brilliant season they had last year. I think with the squad that they have, they probably should be doing a little bit better in this league. And obviously, Nuno leaving is quite a surprise for me. I think it'll be crucial to see who they bring in as a replacement. Because I think that squad has got lots of potential. Obviously, Jimenez has been a big miss this year for them, and I think if he can be back and fit next year, I think it'll be good for them. So, yeah, I think it'll be a tough game for them coming into this last one. They'll want to finish off strong, but coming up against United side who have looked really good this season, I think it'll be too tough for them. I think I'm going to go for a 1-0 to United in this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun game. I think it's a little bit worrying looking at Wolves. I feel like this might be start of the decline for them. I think they really needed to come into the season and build on the team. It looks like they've done the opposite. Really, they've taken away from the team with transfers and obviously injuries have been terrible for them, and now they're losing a very talented manager. So they might prove me wrong. They might bring in some players and look brilliant next season. But I think they've had a little bit of a disappointing season. But I think on the other hand, Wolves have been very unlucky. Manchester United obviously had a terrible start to the season. Losing many games, had that big loss to Tottenham. I think European-wise, they'll still be a little bit disappointed. It seems they were in the Champions League and they were in a great place in that group. They beat Leipzig and PSG in the first half of that group. But obviously, for Oli, it's still good. He's still getting himself to the European final. Obviously, they haven't won in their last three. But, to get second and win on that run they did at the top, I think Man United fans will be content. I think they always want to win the title, but I think they can see the future there. If they obviously need a couple more signings, then maybe in the next year or so they can start to look to challenge the title. So I think Manchester United will get the win here. I think it'll be a good confidence boost for them for the Europa League final, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 to United.